Leila, my fellow panelists, and our esteemed VYS delegates. It is such a privilege to be here with you. And let me start by sharing my gratitude to the SDSN team and Pontifical Academy of Sciences, Monsignor, Gabriela, Sam, and others for the invitation to join this assembly again for a second year, albeit this time in not in the beautiful Vatican City, but from my home here in Orlando, Florida. For those who I haven't met, my name is Chris Castro, and over the last 15 years, I've devoted my studies, my professional career, and the rest of my life to implementing practical strategies in cities and communities that are working to advance the SDGs, tackle the climate change crisis, and help to find balance and harmony between people and nature. As mentioned, among other ventures, I'm also the co-founder and president of Ideas for Us, and have worked with an amazing team, including our very own VYS alumni, Clayton Lewis Ferrara, to develop and implement local SDG action projects in now over 30 countries around the world. But today I come before you as my role as a public official in the city of Orlando, Florida, in my capacity as the senior advisor to our mayor, Buddy Dyer, and director of the city's Office of Sustainability and Resilience. In this role, over the last 6 years, I've helped to foster a wide array of public policies, community programs, and creative partnerships that are aiming to advance local action on the SDGs and our collective vision for Orlando to become a model city of the future. With cities contributing over 70% of global greenhouse gas emissions and on track to house more than 70% of the global population by 2050, cities and local governments play an integral role in redirecting our trajectory in a cleaner, more sustainable, and equitable way that addresses the needs of the most vulnerable first and foremost. In realizing our inability to solve these issues ourselves, we've begun to focus heavily on Goal 17 of establishing a culture of collaborations and partnerships with fellow regional governments, local clergy, businesses, nonprofits, and agencies that have allowed us to mitigate the worst impacts even of this global pandemic and continued our momentum to address our city's greatest needs. Because of these partnerships, we've been able to move the needle on our goals. And I wanted to spend a couple of minutes here just sharing some examples of what partnerships we're talking about. To address the immediate need due to the pandemic, we've worked closely with our community-based organizations such as United Way, Giving Hope Orlando, and the Coalition for the Homeless to prioritize vulnerable communities and address the immediate economic and unemployment issues that have led to the inability of paying medical bills and utility bills. As such, we've offered more than $12 million to cover these unpaid bills for those in most hardship, and with our county deploying more than $230 million in direct financial aid to support residents, nonprofits, and businesses alike. With our hometown university, the University of Central Florida, we've established a robust Center of Excellence for the SDGs, known as GEO, the Global Economic and Environmental Opportunity. This effort is led by former Congressman and UNWTO Chief Judge Jim Backus, not to mention a board member of the SDSN USA Network. This group, GEO, is made up of faculty, staff, and community leaders that have been working together even during this pandemic to organize, support, and tools for communities in need. In partnership with our place-based foundation, known as the Central Florida Foundation, we've helped to launch a new effort called Thrive Central Florida, a framework to localize and implement the SDGs through 5 impact funds focused on essentially areas such as healthcare, economic stability, livability, and others. In partnership with our Regional Planning Council, we've started to formalize and joined over 35 governments in Central Florida and academic partners around a Regional Resilience Collaborative, what we call the R2C. This is using the framework of the SDGs to help us address local vulnerabilities and risks and begin working together on policy and program solutions at the regional government level to move us in a more resilient direction. In partnership with local women-owned solar contractors, 15 light years, we've started to move our own city facilities to 100% renewables by 2030. This year alone, we've added rooftop solar to 6 fire stations to provide off-grid abilities to sustain these critical functions in times of a disaster or a grid outage. And soon, our next steps are to do that for our neighborhood centers and emergency operations center. With our business chamber, the Orlando Economic Partnership, we started to create a new green building tax rebate program to encourage new development post-COVID to build healthier and greener buildings, such as the internationally renowned LEED certification. By using these tax incentives, we're helping to provide a rebate of up to 100% of the first year's property taxes as a way to help them achieve higher levels of performance for energy and water efficiency, indoor environmental quality, green stormwater infrastructure, and more. And a couple more. In partnership with our transit authority Lynx, our hometown utility OUC, we've brought forward 14 electric buses to convert our downtown bus rapid transit to zero emission service. This commitment is to move 100% of our city fleet and public buses to electric and alternative fuel by 2030. And lastly, OUC, our hometown electric and water utility, recently published a very important integrated resources plan, a long-range plan that made significant commitments in alignment with the city's climate targets and sustainability, including achieving net zero carbon by 2050, with intermediate CO2 reduction targets of 50% by 2030 and 75% by 2040. We've committed to early retirement of our coal plants at the latest by 2027, and essentially retiring those plants at least 20 years early. And lastly, a commitment to really ramp up renewable energy, energy storage, energy efficiency, and electric vehicles to help us meet this reality. These are just a few examples of how partnerships for the goals have taken a new light and have allowed us to continue our progress moving forward this year. And I'm happy to share that all of these will be highlighted in our upcoming voluntary local review of the SDGs to be published in the first quarter of 2021. So we're excited to be another city joining hundreds around the world committing to that VLR process. I did want to just leave you all with one last point, and that is that as our cities look post-COVID, it is important that we position ourselves to advance a green and equitable recovery that uses the SDGs as a unifying framework for revival. This would mean aiming for our work to center Black, Indigenous, and peoples of color who have often been marginalized and not provided with equal opportunity. It means focusing on creating green jobs that will work to decarbonize our energy and transportation system and make our infrastructure more efficient and resilient. It means protecting public transportation to reduce vehicle miles traveled and provide access for essential workers. This means giving public spaces back to people and nature through nature-based solutions, and ensuring that we provide a fundamental public service such as clean water, healthy food, sanitation, and affordable housing for all. With the support of the federal administration, we're excited for what the future holds, and I'll yield back. Thank you so much, Kayla.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. I really, anybody who wants to hear more about Chris's work, definitely follow him on Facebook. He's always posting really great photos and updates, and I look forward to reading the voluntary review as well. Thanks so much.